Hi, I'm Sonia. I was in the article that came out last Friday on EA and a hostile climate toward women in EA's culture. And I wanted to just comment a little bit on this article and respond to some questions that people had. First of all, I'm really happy this article came out. It was not easy speaking for it. The other women who I knew who were speaking for it also did not do so lightly. We have been afraid for a long time, but now we're no longer afraid because we know what's right. We want to live in communities in which we are treated well, in which women are treated well. And we want to stand up for that, even if it's really scary to do so. So one point I wanted to address that I saw on the EA forum is on the EA forum, there was, I believe, someone from Denmark who wanted to teach an EA course for high school students and was now feeling a deep sense of shame at being EA associated due to this article. And I don't know this person, but from the sense of this message, like they seem like very well-meaning, like this course sounds awesome. Like if I were a high schooler, I'd like love to learn about new types of epistemics. Like that all sounds really growthful and healthy. And he sort of mentions in his comment that a lot of this abuse and like nonsense seems to come from the Bay Area. And I want to elaborate on this point because you are right. Most of the abuse in the article, I would say, is in the Bay Area. I don't want to say all, not all of it was. Abuse can happen around the world, that's for sure, and it does. But the Bay Area is extra conducive to abusive dynamics for a couple of reasons, and I wanted to elucidate as to why. So, context. I lived in the Bay Area for a couple years after college. I've stayed in hacker houses. I am an AI researcher. I'm a startup founder. I've been in male-dominated environments for most of my life. So I have just been around a lot of these dynamics, and it can be like, it's still a lot to process, and I'm still processing it. And in some ways, like even my understanding of like what's normal and healthy is skewed compared to average, given that I've been in like somewhat toxic environments for so long. So I'll do my best to elucidate as much as I can. So a lot of the Bay Area, so many things about the Bay Area, I don't even know where to begin, but a lot of the Bay Area relies on hacker houses. And this is key to like understanding why things get so weird. Hacker houses basically are these giant like Victorian mansions or maybe some suburban home in South Bay that a bunch of startup founders or researchers will like rent out and sort of live together commune style. And this makes practical sense just because rent is so expensive. Like I think when I was last in the Bay Area, like my tiny like one bedroom was like 2,000 US dollars a month. And I was sharing that place with three women. But the second reason is actually like for networking, in that you develop very close bonds with your roommates or the people you're living with. It's natural, it's human. We all want a sense of community, and wanting a sense of community is a very beautiful and healthy thing. But communities come in all shapes and sizes, right? And if you're not careful about how you intentionally construct your community, and if you fail to set policies to incentivize good behavior, communities can turn toxic very quickly. And I've been in all sorts of communities throughout my life. Like right now, I'm in Montreal. I'm a graduate student in machine learning at Mila, and Mila is like a very healthy community. Like I like it here a lot. But I can't say the same about some parts of the Bay Area that I have experienced. So you have basically a bunch of people living in the same hacker house, and this can often take frat-like dynamics, except for frats, you still have the parent institution sort of like protecting people. Like there's Title IX. If you're a woman and you're assaulted in one of these environments, like there are resources you can go to, like there is sort of like an HR process. But here there's no parent institution. It's just like hacker houses that can turn very big, like 40 people. Like some hacker houses in the past have been like 90 people. So these hacker houses are operating like pseudo institutions. And then you have dynamics of like money. because it's the Bay Area, people are startup founders, like there are millions and millions of dollars invested in everyone's companies. Some people are working for startups, famous startups that we see in the news all the time, famous AI startups that are valued at billions of dollars. So think frats backed by billions of dollars without sort of any sort of like Title IX HR department or parent institution. Men typically hold leases to these places just because like men tend to have companies or tend to like control capital and like be more in power. And this can create all sorts of power gradients. In addition to this, like the Bay Area is kind of like incestuous in the sense where people do mix personal and professional lives. I think this can be done ethically if you're very careful, but I don't think people are careful or very self-aware all the time, and people don't have like the highest EQ. So oftentimes people are like living together and like dating each other or like employing each other or investing in each other all at once. And this can create all sorts of like power dynamics that can be ripe for abuse. So what is abuse? I keep saying that word. And even for the EA article, there was some sort of like confusion, like is polyamory inherently abusive? And a lot of people at EA are like, no, like I have these like loving like polyamorous relationships, like stay away, like don't come after me. And like I think there's something here, because the problem here, it's not polyamory, it's not sex, it's not hacker houses, it's not startups, it's not tech. Like these things are shaping like the structure of the problem, and we have to talk about them for that reason. But the problem is abusing power dynamics. The problem is power. Oftentimes one person is more high leverage. If you're in the Bay Area, maybe you're a startup founder, maybe you're male, maybe you've been there for 10 years, maybe you have a deep network, maybe you have a lot of money, maybe you have a reputation, you have knowledge, you are in the in crowd. So when vulnerable people enter the Bay Area, and a lot of vulnerable people do enter the Bay Area, like high school dropouts commonly go to the Bay Area. Sometimes they're coming from abusive homes and looking for opportunities. They are very vulnerable. Young women who are dropping out of college to start companies, very ambitious, intelligent, like awesome, like kick-ass women, researchers, people who are just very young and are often like leaving their homes for the first time will come into the Bay Area and like stay in these hacker houses and get like be the subject to coercive dynamics or abusive dynamics or various types of like harassment or assault. And due to like a lack of HR department and lack of like overarching institution, plus just gender ratio, like male interests tend to be overrepresented due to these environments being so male dominated, that men will often put their sort of preferences over that of women at expense of their safety. So it can be very hard to get accountability for bad things that happen in these environments. And these environments are also easy for bad actors to exploit because there isn't enough scrutiny and coordination or like mechanisms of policing these behaviors. So this is part of the reason why the Bay Area leads to so many problems. There are obviously other variables as well, like male dominated, like oftentimes like high IQ, not high EQ, like certain like superiority or like savior complexes, lots of money, like too much power, but not like the responsibility or like wisdom to exercise it. Some of the leaders in tech are kind of like children, like think like Wall Street, like 2008. And think like the movie, like The Big Short, where they just portray the investment bankers as being kind of like children with like too much leverage. Like parts of the Bay Area remind me of that. And sort of to be clear, like the Bay Area is my home. Like I love the Bay Area. Like it's not, the Bay Area is not the enemy here. Like EA is not really the enemy. Like what I'm going after is abusive like dynamics. Like that's in this conversation. I mean, like that's what I'm trying to highlight here. But we need to talk about everything surrounding it in order to really understand the structure of the problem. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. All of this honestly has been really hard for me and for the other women involved. So to everyone who spoke for the article, I know how hard it was. Like, you are so brave. You are making history. We are going to make the world better. It's, ironically in some ways, because that's what EA said they would do. But we are doing this because we think that we can help a lot of people and give a voice to the voiceless. If you're listening to this and you have experienced any sort of coercion in these communities or just in general, like, I am so, like, my heart goes out to you. I send you strength. And I encourage, like, speak up, like, let's all speak up, like, let's change this. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening, and like, much love to everybody.